My neck is still, I still have an issue with my neck. Thank you for joining us this evening, the Albany City Council meeting, Wednesday, February 25th at 6 p.m. I now call the meeting to order, and would you please all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for joining us. City Recorder, roll call, please.
Counselor Thompson,
Here.
Counselor Van Drimmelen,
Here.
Counselor McLeod,
Present.
Counselor Smith,
Here.
Counselor McGee,
Present.
Counselor Newton,
Hi there.
Mayor Johnson.
I am here. Thank you. Item 3 on your agenda, adoption of the consent calendar. Council, do we have any issues?
I'd like to pull item B3. Oh, wait, sorry. Yes, B3.
Okay. So, council like to discuss the rest of the consent calendar?
We accept the consent calendar with the exception of the item pulled.
I have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Counselor Smith?
Thank you. Item B3 for those in the audience is the minutes from the council's joint meeting with the Albany School Board on December 8th. There were 3 errors that I wanted to correct in our version. These minutes have been adopted by the school district already. The first one, the most substantive one I felt, was that School Board Director Lunsford was marked as present, and she was unable to attend that meeting, so she was not present. On page 15 of the minutes, under the Parks and Recreation Director's report, there is a reference to the SHARK, S-H-A-R-K Foundation. That should be the SHARF Foundation, S-C-H-A-R-P-F. And in the police chief's discussion of the school resource officer partnership with the school district, it reports that we have 2 active threat skills with the district every year, and it should be drills. Forgive me my copy editing, but I wanted our accepted version of the minutes to be correct.
So, council, do we have a motion?
I move to accept the minutes of the joint meeting with Greater Albany Public Schools with the edits as outlined by Counselor Smith.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, council. Next on tonight's agenda is a quasi-judicial public hearing regarding the planning file Z Charlie -04-25, proposal for the zoning map amendment from community to commercial to neighborhood commercial on a development 730 square foot 4. The order of tonight's proceedings as follows. A is a staff report. B is a preliminary questions for staff. C is testimony from the applicant. D is questions from the applicant. Public testimony, item E, will be public testimony in favor of the opposition or in opposition or neutral. F is rebuttal by the applicant. G, procedural questions for staff. H, council deliberations, and I, final decision. If you wish to testify, there were 3 options available as described on the agenda. If you have not yet provided your information to sign-in sheet, please do so now. See no one moving. I call to order the quasi-judicial public hearing at 6:04 p.m. Do any councilors or wish to declare them a conflict of interest? No councilors declaring conflict of interest. Do any councilors wish to report of ex parte communication, contact? Thank you. Do any councilors wish to report a site visit? Do any councilors wish to abstain from participating in the proceedings? Does anyone wish to challenge the city council's right to determine this matter and the participation in the council member in the meeting, hearing, and decision? Okay, if you are here attending online, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. Or if you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name and to be called upon. There's no takers. I now call on a reading of the meeting procedures.
The case or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or Albany Development Code which you believe to apply to the decision. Please be aware that you must raise an issue with enough detail to afford the city and other parties the opportunity to respond to the issue if you later want to raise that issue on appeal. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the City Council may allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. The failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
Thank you. Will the project planner, David Martineau, please present the staff report?
Certainly. So the subject property is located at 530 Columbus and also 2150 Fifth Avenue. It's one lot and it has a duplex on it currently. And so the request tonight is to change the zoning of that one specific lot from community commercial to neighborhood commercial. And in this case, it's logical because the neighborhood commercial is like a good buffer zone between existing community commercial and other nearby residential. So the subject property is located here. It's at, again, 530 Columbus, and it is just north of the Rogers Restaurant, KFC, A&W, and then just west of the Republic Plaza. So the review criteria for a zoning map amendment is found in Development Code Section 2.740. In summary, consistency with the comprehensive plan, the transportation facilities are adequate, services can accommodate the development, the new zone best satisfies the comprehensive plan, transportation plan has been followed, and then it's consistent with transportation studies. So the process is a type 4 quasi-judicial process. So public notice was sent to property owners within 300 feet of this property, and it was also posted on the property physically. There was a public hearing on February 2nd with the Planning Commission, and they made a recommendation which you're here to consider tonight. City Council then holds this second hearing, and in the intervening time, we did receive one letter of support, and that should be in your packet. So tonight, the decision options is to either approve the request as proposed, approve it with amendments, or deny the request. And any questions?
Council, do councilors have questions for the staff? Thank you. We will now taking testimony from the applicant. Will the applicant please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, members of the council. My name is David Dodson. I'm with Willamette Valley Planning, representing the property owner. My address is 5020 Northwest Highway 99 in Corvallis, Oregon, zip code 97330. Essentially, my client was interested in rezoning the property because the existing duplex is considered kind of a non-conforming use in the commercial zone. And so by changing it to what is being recommended, the neighborhood commercial does allow for that, so it then no longer becomes a non-conforming use. So that's what's really driving the request for the zone change. So we concur with staff's recommendation to approve the request, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Do any councilors have any questions for the applicant? Councilor McLeod?
Thank you. Can you tell us why this is a non-conforming use, or how this came about, why it's there?
Well, my client inherited the property from her mother. And what kind of came, she inherited several properties, several in Corvallis and then this one over here. And I helped her do an annexation on one of those properties, and she asked me to help her with this particular property as well. She's just concerned that if the property were to ever burn down, that I don't think she'd be able to reconstruct it, and so there's some issues around that. And so she just wanted to have the assurance. And I think too, from a zoning perspective, being a planner, I think, as David had mentioned, that neighborhood commercial zone really provides a good transition to what's really a residential neighborhood to the north, and then really a more commercial uses to the south. So it becomes kind of a nice transition versus the commercial right there. I mean, if somebody did purchase the property and tear it down, they could put a commercial use there, and it's kind of in the neighborhood, and so it becomes a little more problematic.
So you're saying the property was in use as it is before she inherited?
That
the
is
property?
correct. It's been a duplex for decades.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other counselor? Thank you. We will now be taking public testimony from those who registered to speak. First, from those in favor of the application, followed by those in opposition, and then with concerns, and finally those neutral. There was no one, only person in favor just spoke. There's no other person that signed up to speak to us about this testimony, have any testimony. If anyone wishes to, let me see. If anyone wishes to entertain the exhibit into the record as part of your testimony, please briefly describe the exhibit and then hand it to the clerk. Virtual attendees, please email the exhibits to the city recorder at cityrecorder@albanyoregon.gov. Okay, I'm going back over here. We will now be taking public testimony from those who did not register to speak. If you are attending in person, please raise your hand to speak. If attending virtually, please turn on your camera and raise your hand to be called upon. If you are attending by phone, please unmute yourself to state your name and be called upon. Please state your name and address for the record to provide your information to the sign-in sheet and the presenter's desk. If online, please email your name and address to cityrecorder@albanyoregon.gov. Does any applicant have any rebuttal? Nobody signed up? Anybody in here want to speak? Anyone here? Good. Well, the next question is, does anybody have any rebuttal testimony? Since there's no comments, we don't have any. Does the applicant waive the 7-day period to submit additional written testimony, written argument? You waive it, thank you. Does the city council wish to speak, ask any procedural questions of staff? I'll keep going. I declare the public hearing closed at 6:13 p.m. That's done. Does the city council wish to discuss the case? I think Councilor McLeod had the right question. Does the city council wish to discuss? No, I did that. There's an ordinance on your for consideration on your desk in the packet.
I move the city council adopt an ordinance to approve the zoning map
We have to read it, right?
amendment.
I think we have to. Yes, we have to read ordinance. Okay, would the city attorney please read the ordinance proclaiming the zoning amendment title, and title only?
Thank you. An ordinance amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany zoning map by the Albany zoning map and adopting findings for the property located at Lynn County Assessor's Map number 11S-03W-05CD, tax lot 9400.
Would the city council like to make a motion to read the title of the ordinance a second time in title only?
I'll move to read the ordinance a second time in title only.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany zoning map by the Albany zoning map and adopting findings for the property located at Lynn County Assessor's Map number 11S-03W-05CD, tax lot 9400.
Thank you. Would the counselor like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance and proclaiming the zoning amendment?
I move the city council adopt an ordinance to approve the zoning map amendment under planning file ZC 0425 as described in the January 16th, 2026 staff report. This motion is based on the findings and conclusions in the staff report, testimony presented at the hearing, and the findings in support of the application made by the city council during deliberations on this matter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Will the city clerk call the roll call vote?
Counselor Thompson,
Yes.
Counselor Van Drimmelen,
Aye.
Counselor McLeod,
Aye.
Counselor Smith,
Aye.
Counselor McGee,
Aye.
Counselor Newton.
Yep.
Like motion passes.
Good. Within 5 days of the decision, the Community Development Director will provide written notice of the decision to the applicant and any other parties entitled to the notice. A decision of City Council may be appealed to Land Use Board of Appeals by filing a notice to intent to appeal no later than 21 days after the decision is final. Thank you. I'm going to run that back one more time. We have two more ordinances. Give me a second, I get the right one.
Mayor, those are probably for the next hearing.
Say again?
Those 2 additional ordinances are for the next hearing.
I get that, but the next on my agenda is the
Oh,
ordinance.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, sir.
sure I got the right thing up here. Second one, this is the next one. Next on tonight's agenda is a legislative and quasi-judicial public hearing regarding planning files Alpha November 01-21, Charlie Papa -03-25, and Zebra Charlie 03-25. The proposal is a request to annex 11 separate parcels of land to outside of the city limits, along with an adjacent right-of-way, amend the comprehensive plan designation of general commercial to village center with the concurrent zoning map amendments from Lynn County's UGA, UGM-5 zoning to a designation to a mixed-use commercial office personnel and regional residential medium density attached. The annexation will remove property from the taxing district of the Albany Rural Fire District Protection District. Okay. If you wish to testify, there will be 3 options to be available as described on the council's agenda. If you have not yet provided your information, please sign in the sheet now. I call the legislative public and quasi-judicial public hearing to order at 6:18 p.m. I call in the order legislative qualified decision public hearing. I'll do that. Do any councilors have to declare a conflict of interest? I think I need to. I know the gentleman, they worked on a previous project in Albany on the tiny home village, Hub City. So I have had conversations about them and I directed them to talk to staff. Are you cool with that? Thank you. So I should disqualify myself.
Let me run the meeting?
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes.
that's not a conflict of interest.
Not?
No.
Let me know, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, dang, I wanted to run the meeting.
Well, I just want to make sure,
So
I want people to
close.
know that I do know the people that are trying to do this, so. Does any councilors wish to report a ex parte contact? So I did talk with both of the gentlemen, everybody involved, and we just talked about the vision that I had for Albany. I took them on a tour of the city, and that's pretty much it. True. That's why I don't even have a vote.
Sir, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Would that be all right?
Well, we have to, can I do that, city attorney? So let's take a 5-minute break, come back at 6:30.
6:30.
6:30. Well, I've said So I want to clarify my comments, my communication with the principal or the applicant. I have known Darren Nichols for about 3 years now, I believe. And he came to me about this project and kind of shared his vision. And I took him and introduced him to not David Martin, Matthew Rutgers and staff. And then I stepped away, and then things started happening in the background. They brought back some drawings and let me take a look at them. They showed me the site, so I did make a site visit. And other thing, all I saw was where the property's gonna go. We went to the VFW. I talked with the VFW folks. They seemed pretty excited about it. So for me, I don't think it's a conflict, but apparently some of the council does believe I have a conflict. And so I think I should step out of this hearing, because 2 years before, one of his partners was my former campaign manager, and she also had filed a lawsuit against the city. And so during that time, I stepped away from the dais. So I'm going to ask Council President to please complete this hearing.
I'm getting real excited, guys. You know, this is gonna be real fun. Well, I love the game of musical chairs.
And it just protects the process and the
Yeah.
integrity of the process, which is, it happens. I mean, this small town, I know everybody. I refereed football 25 years, got yelled on softball fields for 15, so this is nothing new. Waiting for the city attorney. Apologize for the delay. We'll make sure we do this right. We have a bunch of ordinances today. Talking to Sean. The recorder, are they almost done? Okay. Shut down. Right. Yep. Yes. So thank you for the city attorney. She did talk to actually, she's the deputy city attorney. Based on the conversation, there was ex parte communication. I did share that with you. But for there to be no appearance of impropriety, I'm going to ask my president and my council to finish this hearing.
Okay.
Do I have to leave the room, or can I stay in the room?
You can do it like the Olympics and hold up some note cards and tell me how good I'm doing. If I get like a 10, 8.5. All right, does anyone wish to challenge the city council's right to determine this matter or the participation of any city council member in this hearing or decision? All right, seeing none. If you're attending online, go ahead and turn on your mic, on your camera, raise your hand to be called upon. If you're attending by phone, please unmute yourself and state your name if you need to be called on. Are there any site visits that anyone wants to also claim?
Yes.
Is your microphone on?
Yes, it is. Is my
Okay.
microphone not working?
Okay, I just
It
couldn't
is
hear
working? Okay. Do I need to maybe adjust it? There we go. That might be a little better. I did drive by the site numerous times over the last few months, and that's all I wanted to declare, was that I've drove by a few times and taken a couple looks.
Who wants to say that to the microphone?
It's right by my house. I see it every day.
Okay, anyone else? No? All right, so let's go ahead and call for a reading of the meeting procedures.
Sure. For all those wishing to testify, please direct your testimony toward the applicable criteria of the case or other criteria in the comprehensive plan or Albany Development Code which you believe to apply to the decision. Please be aware that you must raise an issue with enough detail to afford the city or other parties the opportunity to respond to the issue if you later want to raise that issue on appeal. If additional documents or evidence are provided by any party, the City Council may allow a continuance or leave the record open to allow the parties a reasonable opportunity to respond. The failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient detail to allow the local government to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court.
All right, will the project planner, please present the staff report?
Okay, I'm David Martineau, project planner. Starting here, I wanted to share with you the East Albany Land Use Plan. This was adopted in 2023 as part of the East Albany refinement plan. And so the areas that you see here are designated as commercial and residential, medium and low density and employment land. It's all around the vicinity of Walmart, especially behind it and to the south. So the subject properties, there's 11 of them, and the numbers on the left represent the number of the property that you'll see in the cover sheet of your staff report that refers to each of the lots that are being considered for annexation. And then the map on the right shows those properties in sky blue color, and those are the ones that are being considered for annexation tonight. So in summary, first part of this is the comprehensive plan map amendment that's being proposed. So presently in the East Albany plan, we have an area of general commercial that's up kind of the northwest of the site. The center of the site is dominated by village center designation. We have medium density residential to the southeast and then employment land to the furthest to the southeast with a little bit of urban residential reserve. And so how that would break out with this proposal is the general commercial designation would go away in favor of village center. So we have village center zoning here, or comprehensive plan map, actually, village center, and then medium density residential and employment land. For the zoning, the properties currently have Lynn County zoning. Most of them are the UGA, UGM 5-acre lots with a little bit of residential reserve, UGA, with primarily 1-acre lots. Upon annexation, provided this is approved, the zoning of the site would be primarily mixed-use commercial with medium-density residential to the south and southwest, and then office professional to the southeast. So the review criteria for annexations can be found in section 2.110 of the Albany Development Code. In summary, there's eligibility criteria, and then there's also the infrastructure criteria. Do we have the ability to serve the site with an adequate level of urban services? Is the infrastructure available to serve the site? And will they be available in a timely manner? So a quasi-judicial comprehensive plan map amendment review criteria are found in section 2.220 of the Albany Development Code. And in summary, that is, would the map amendment be more supportive of the comp plan? Would it be consistent with relevant area plans, such as the East Albany plan? Would it be consistent with the comprehensive plan map pattern and also consistent with statewide planning goals? For the zoning map amendment, the review criteria are found in ATC 2.740. In summary, is the zoning map amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan? The transportation facilities are adequate? Services can accommodate development? Does it best satisfy the comprehensive plan? Has the transportation plan been followed? And is this consistent with the transportation studies? And so for the land use process, this annexations are a type 4 legislative process. The assignment of comprehensive plan map amendments as well as zoning is a type 4 quasi-judicial process. So public notice was mailed to properties within 300 feet of the property, which numbered about 90 letters, and the property was posted at 5 locations. The public hearing was held February 2nd before the Planning Commission for their recommendation. City Council is scheduled then to hear the hearing tonight and to consider any written testimony that was received. I believe you got one piece of testimony from the Fair Housing Council of Oregon supporting this proposal. So the key points then, we're looking at annexing 11 properties. This comes with comprehensive plan map amendments, zoning map amendments. We've determined that the properties are eligible for annexation and that the proposal satisfies all applicable review criteria. So your decisions tonight is either to approve the request as proposed, approve with conditions, or deny the requests. And are there any questions?
Any questions from council? I have questions for the project, so okay. All right, no questions for Mr. Barton. Any staff, council does not have any questions for staff, just want to make sure. Okay. All right, we'll now be taking testimony from the applicant. Would the applicant please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, councilors. Darren Nichols, East Albany Town Center LLC, 1860 Northwest Crocker Lane, Albany, Oregon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to visit with you tonight. First of all, I just want to say we concur with the staff's report. I want to say a special thank you to David and to Matthew and to the rest of the team at Community Development for their staff work on this. They've done an excellent job, and we concur with the findings that they've put in front of you this evening. It might be helpful just to talk a little bit about the history on this project. We are, first and foremost, a housing developer, and in particular, we try to provide housing that's workforce affordable. We do that mostly without public subsidy, so we look for sites that are affordable and in communities that need housing, which Oregon needs lots of these days. When we first began looking at this site, we were really just looking at one small piece of it. And then we realized kind of through the negotiation with the landowner that it was actually a much larger family-owned property that the city had done a lot of work on as part of the East Albany plan. And as we began to look kind of more in depth, we realized there was an opportunity to do something special here, something more than just a housing development, but actually more of a community town center feel, something that would provide housing, but housing that's supported by all the things that people need in their everyday lives. So that began kind of a visioning process and a conversation with city staff about a shared effort. And I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to all of you for your leadership in working through the East Albany plan and adopting that in 2023, but also I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you to the city staff for their partnership in this. It really is a partnership, and I think that partnership will be really important going forward as we move from tonight's decision about annexation and zoning towards actually putting in place the development that's going to support people who live in Albany and work in Albany, and is going to help kind of generate the future that you all have wanted and envisioned for your community. So we've been operating under a development agreement, which you authorized, I think, back in October, and an annexation agreement. So your city staff is bringing you the annexation proposal, but really on behalf of this greater vision, and we look forward to kind of fulfilling our part of this from tonight's decision going forward. So happy to answer questions, and thank you.
All right, do any counselors have questions for the applicant? I have a question for you. I'm curious about if there are any specific infrastructure improvements that you're prepared to fund as part of this project, like roads, signals, or utilities, stormwater. I just want to make sure that we can confirm that there's going to be no request for general fund subsidies needed.
Well, thank you for the question. Like any other development, we will pay our fair share. This particular project involves more infrastructure than a typical project would require, in part because the state and the city have adopted a pretty substantial transportation change in the pattern for the neighborhood. So I think following tonight's decision, that will, one of the next discussions we'll have will be around the design of the roadway, the access points, where and how to extend sewer. And I think that's a conversation that we'll need to have with the city manager, community development, to figure out how best and where do the access points need to be, and where does the sewer need to come from, those kinds of detailed design questions. And that will be a pretty involved process.
Thank you. And so speaking of traffic, for traffic mitigation measures, what are you willing to commit to upfront? Not just for any future phases. I'm just wanting to know if you're willing to fund any intersection upgrades if thresholds are met.
We will do whatever's required as part of the development. Tonight, we don't have a development proposal to put in front of you. This is just a question about annexation. The next step will be actually designing the development.
Okay, so let's talk about some market conditions, though. So if the market conditions change and the project builds out maybe at a lower intensity, you just never know sometimes, than what's currently projected. How does that impact any infrastructure obligations that you would have? I just want to know, is the city going to carry the risk on that? Or are you going to still be able to fund through if we're going to need those infrastructure upgrades?
I think those are decisions we haven't made yet.
Okay.
We spent most of the day today working with a development partner, an award-winning development partner who has done a lot of work in and around the Portland metro area on communities similar to this, and with some representatives of a market analyst firm who specializes in kind of figuring out how to get this right on the financial side. So I would say we're at the very beginning phases of figuring out what this will actually look like. So I think you probably have seen a conceptual drawing, which is very conceptual. It's not actually a design, it's more of a kind of a density proof of concept.
Councilor Newton, I would say that this hearing is on the annexation. So the questions about the project are for a later phase.
Cool. So why is annexation necessary now rather than waiting till development is more imminent?
In order for us to proceed with any kind of development proposal, the property has to be annexed in the city. It has to be under city's jurisdiction. As long as it remains in Lynn County, it's not eligible for development. So this is in a stepwise series of decisions. The decision to bring it under the city's jurisdiction and apply city zoning is what would enable us to bring forward a development proposal.
Okay. I have a question that might be for staff, if everyone's okay with indulging me with a few things. I was curious, we talk frequently about growth paying for itself, right? I'm curious, Mr. Martineau, if you know if the projected net fiscal impact of this annexation is at full build out, and over what time frame would it become revenue positive for the city, if at all? Just want to understand, where this would be at for growth paying for itself, or if it's going to rely on existing taxpayers?
I don't have an answer for that question.
Okay.
I
Oh, looks
might
like we
ask-
have come on down.
Yeah.
Director Rutgers, thank you.
Got it. Good evening, Council. So to answer your question, Councilor Newton, this is kind of the annexation portion of this, and as part of that, they are entering into an annexation agreement. And that agreement, binds them to follow all of our plans and everything else, just like when they get to the actual development portion. Interesting piece about this property is I talked to the council when we initiated this process was the extension of timber through this property is a fairly major extension. I didn't bring the slides with me tonight, but if you recall, going back into our memory, is timber is not just a local street. It is a multi-lane with roundabouts, pretty major thoroughfare that's going to be built. So to your point is, will the developer, whoever develops this, whether it be this group or somebody else for whatever reason that may be, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but any development in Albany, just in general, the developers have to pay their fair share. They're required to install all of the frontage improvements, all the utilities to and through. We have a to and through standard. So you extend your streets, all of your underground utilities, sewer, water, stormwater, across your frontages, sometimes multiple frontages, and any of the internal. That requirement is placed on the developer, not on the city. In the case of this project, when it gets to that point of development, since there's an oversized facility, their developers or developments are required to pay for what would be the local standard, so 32 feet, curb to curb, and all the standard utilities. In this case, timber extension is going to be much larger than that. At that time, there is some opportunity that we have a capital project list. And on that capital list, it talks about whether a project is SDC credit eligible or not. So as they oversize a facility more than what they'd be required to build normally, they could be eligible for SDC credits. And those are just basically paid through SDC funds, and they get credits when they actually go to do their building permits, if that makes sense. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible.
Okay. So help me understand. So upon annexation, I'm also curious about like any new service costs that we might incur, like for police, fire, public works, parks. What costs there will be triggered immediately upon annexation? And then we know how those are funded. It's by the current taxpayers. We aren't bringing in any money yet from these properties. So I'm just wondering if there's also a gap that we're going to incur from the beginning of annexation to when revenue begins to materialize as well.
As soon as the property is annexed, it then, it starts to bear the city tax, property tax comes with that. Now, obviously, as we know how taxes work in the state of Oregon, there's a gap there. Now, until the property is developed, there's not an additional burden on, I'm not going to say all of our facilities, but you don't have residents living there until a development is complete. So I think to your point is even at the point of full build out, is there still this gap? I mean, this project isn't going to solve the property tax problem that Oregon has where it's capped, right? So that's always going to exist. But is there community benefit is the question I think you might be asking.
Do you have an estimated amount on what the property taxes would be upon full build out?
I do not. It'll be highly dependent upon what's actually built. Like I say, tonight and is just the annexation. We've seen some conceptual drawings. I haven't ran the numbers on that to see what a property tax could look like. But that'll be determined by what's actually built on site. The next step after annexation will be those development proposals. I don't anticipate those needing to come before council unless they were, I would hate to say, but by appeal, if there was a land use decision that was appealed. Those will go through our standard land use processes, whatever, probably in multiple phases. So there's still multiple steps here.
Question.
And Counselor Smith has a related question.
I was going to ask earlier, we are just talking about annexing the property, nothing else. That automatically triggers city property taxes, correct? There will be a difference between what they're paying for farm ground and what they're paying for city annexed, urbanly zoned property right away, whether it develops or not.
Correct.
Correct. Thank you.
And then it looks like Counselor Thompson.
Yeah, back to transportation, you know, the overpasses. The overpasses bring everyone east of Albany, you know, points east coming into the core of Albany. I believe ODOT had thoughts at some time in various planning of upgrades of the interchanges, but I don't believe so now. Can you speak? That's out of your jurisdiction. Can you speak about the future of the intersections?
It is, but you know, just general knowledge. Obviously, there's for both the interchanges for Albany. There's been a plan for I'd say a couple decades now.
Yeah.
When and if those get done, we're not sure. But interestingly enough, one of the plans for the Highway 20 interchange, there's some challenges around Fescue Street because it's pointed right at an off ramp, and that's not ideal. The timber extension is actually through the East Albany plan and even prior transportation system plans that ODOT's highly involved in. The extension of timber is actually part of or is the fix to that problem. It then directs traffic up that timber extension up to a new signal at Highway 20, and then the existing Fescue Street turns into a right-in, right-out condition. And so that's been part of that plan. It was included in our TSP for, well, I can't remember our last TSP was 2009, 2010-ish, so for quite some time. This has been in the plan. We actually talked at length about it when we were doing the East Albany plan in 2023, that was a necessary piece.
Also, just here, I know it's not directly related to this project, but do you know you recall the farm worker housing project? Would that need to also be annexed in, or is that already in City of Albany limits? And then I believe they were sharing a road. Is that, I'm trying to remember a conversation I had about a year ago. So, yeah.
So the Farm Worker Housing Corporation development is currently under construction. That's along Goldfish Farm Road, and its extension, it actually lies just to the east of this project. And I think actually will back up to be adjacent to it in a couple places. So, and I know that the EATC group has been in coordination with the Farm Worker Housing Group at one point in time. They've been part of the discussions.
Okay. Councilor McLeod, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Can you please speak to the immediate need for city services upon annexation, such as fire and policing services? What will be needed from the city upon annexation?
So if annexation, say, occurs tonight, tomorrow, is there a change? No. I mean, it's going to take development to trigger that additional need for service. Do you now have, you will have 11 new properties that previously weren't in the city that now will be. Granted, on the fire side, they were being served by the Albany Rural Fire District already, so they're the same people, but under a different title because they're outside city limits. But there won't be an immediate need or change there because it's bare ground or vacant land right now, with the exception, I think there might be some existing homes out there. The real demand will be seen upon actual development where you see an increase in density out there.
But immediately, it would be up to the city to police that area and to protect it from fire and vandalism and anything else that may need to happen through the police department or the fire department, correct?
Correct. It would now fall within our jurisdiction, the city's jurisdiction.
But to your point, Director Rutgers and Counselor, the Albany Fire Department already services that area through Albany Rural Fire District. So those property taxes that support that are paid to the Rural Fire District. Upon annexation, they would be paid to the city. As far as police services go, I'm pretty sure that between the police and the county sheriffs, they respond based on, who can most appropriately handle it at the time. I know the police department would not refuse a call for service if it was, one block outside the city limits, which is what it is currently. So I don't think you would see a sudden demand on services until, as Director Rutgers mentioned, the properties were developed to such a point that there were so many residents there that just by the quantity of people there, that demand would go up.
Counselor Thompson?
I got another road in that area, Three Lakes Road, which is kind of a rural road. Wouldn't that see potential increases in this area? How does that, or is it part of the plan? I suppose I should probably look at the plan in more detail, but.
Yeah, so when we starting to get a little bit down into the weeds a little bit on the transportation impacts, until we actually have a development plan, we won't know what those proposed impacts are. They go through as we look at any of the zone change. There's what's called a TPR, Transportation Planning Rule Analysis, that was done as we looked at what was originally designated in the comp plan, and as we changed that comp plan designation, they had to go through a TPR analysis to demonstrate that by moving those, there isn't a significant impact to the transportation system plan that's already been designed based on those comp plan designations. So that very high level evaluation is already done. When they get into kind of the next step of actual land use development that'll be putting units on the ground, that's where they'll have to do transportation analysis based on the number of trips they generate.
Okay, thank you.
When would a development plan be completed?
At this point, we're just annexing in. At that, it could sit for, I don't want to speak for the developer, but there is no requirement that it develops immediately. It'll be at the property owner's discretion of when they come in for an actual proposal to develop the land.
Anyone else? All right, we'll begin taking public testimony from those who registered to speak. First, from those in favor of the application, followed with those in opposition or with concerns, and finally from anyone else who's neutral. If anyone wishes to enter an exhibit into the record as part of your testimony, please briefly describe the exhibit and then hand it to the clerk. Right over there. Virtual attendees, go ahead and email your exhibits to City Recorder at albanyoregon.gov. All right, looks like I'm showing David Dodson. Is this the? Oh, okay, this is a different sheet. Okay, old sheet. I apologize. Gosh, Eric, I'm kidding. Okay, it looks like we got a goose egg. No one is signed up. Does anyone in the audience want to come and speak in favor? All right. Go ahead and state your name, and if you live in the city of Albany limits, you can join us right up here. Okay. At the microphone, please.
Hello, my
Hi.
name is Nicole White. I'm the quartermaster of the VFW 584 here in Albany. So I've only been the quartermaster for about 2 months and just getting my feet wet in regards to how everything works. But this project was presented to our members at least almost a year ago, just as the idea of it happening. We are part of the annex only because we border this, and it would be encroaching upon the easement to build that road on both sides of our property, to where we lose probably a third of our property in this build. But the developers came in. One of them actually, I believe he's a member of our post, but they're looking to basically offer us a new location, and we're going to be the first build in this, this new development. So, but they can't negotiate with us until this is annexed, if that makes sense.
Like an exchange, am I allowed to ask questions? Can I ask?
I don't have answers. I'm just telling you
Okay,
that
all
we're,
right.
we're here. If you could raise your hand if you're here in representation of the VFW. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're dominating the room here. But we're excited about this project. We support this project only because our building is like from, I don't know when. I know it was donated to us in 1992, and we've kept it up. But if you've ever came there, I mean, we're doing the best we can with what we got. And then this opportunity to actually serve more veterans. And then there's a possible housing project. But all of that is dependent on this annex. So we're here to support the annex to further support the veterans of Albany and Lynn County.
Excellent. Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak neutral? I'm getting there. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition or with any concerns? All right. Does the applicant have any rebuttal testimony? All right, thank you, Mr. Nichols, for signaling that you do not have any rebuttal testimony. Does the applicant waive the 7-day period to submit additional written argument? Thank you for signaling, Mr. Nichols, that you do waive the 7-day period to submit additional written comment. Does the City Council wish to ask any procedural questions of staff? Seeing none. All right, I declare this public hearing closed at 7:07 p.m. Does the City Council wish to discuss the case? Do I have to gavel? I guess. Okay, we gavelled. I get to gavel. It feels really aggressive.
Well, yeah, so here we are with a significant request for annexations. 11 properties, like, I don't know how many acres, maybe not the biggest ever, but significant. And I think we've heard how the game is played, because it becomes, the details will be dealt with when there's a plan before us, when there's a development plan that comes before us. But at that point, the properties will be annexed and part of the city, and the argument will be, well, they are part of the city and legally able to do X, Y, and Z. That's how it goes. We just heard the council. We had both the National Community Survey and we had results from the strategic plan. And one of the themes that came, just on Monday, we heard about the strategic plan. And one of the themes was, public was asking us to focus on providing foundational public services well before expansion. And I can't think of anything that goes against that concept than this annexation. It is bringing metro area type development, at least planned, and I realize, and here's the difficulty. Everything will have to be based on the economic realities for the developer. So they may change what the plans are, but we have seen plans, and they include 7-story apartment buildings, which I just do not think that are part of, that's not small town Albany that we hear, even if people didn't come to speak against this particular development, we've heard that over and over again, what they want, and it was clear in the strategic plan. It was also clear, we also heard from various directors last week. We heard from police and fire especially, and they all, in varying degrees, talked about the challenges of service increases that they are facing. And when this is all built out, That would be significant service challenges, and that's going to be paid by us. It's going to be paid by the current residents. And I hadn't even we asked some of the questions, transportation, I do not think, I talked about the ODOT plans. I don't know if you've been following the news, ODOT doesn't have any money. The ODOT changes on the the overpasses is going to be in a plan for years to come. And all of that gives me pause. It gives me pause, and I think we have plenty of current projects being built in this city within the city limits. I don't think you ask anyone on the street, do you think that Albany's been building a lot? I think you'd get a affirmative answer. And so that's where I'm at. I got real concerns about this proposal.
Counselor Thompson, I hear you. I do, but I also hear our residents. And I also want to say, go back to your comment of being small town Albany. I think that we're moving past that. We are growing, and we need to get with the program. We either need to get in front of growth, as I keep stating, or we're going to be behind the 8 ball. And I don't think that thinking that seven stories is this huge skyscraper in the sky that's going to block everything. And if it is going to help folks who have certainly served our country in some shape, form, or fashion, I don't think that it's an issue. And I think that, again, we need to understand that growth is happening whether we like it or not. And we could either, again, be in front of it and try to get with it, or we're going to be trying to play catch up. And I get the resources that we have that's going to obviously increase, but that comes with a growing city, and that is what we are. We are no longer Albany from 1920 or 1950 or even 2015. We are Albany of 2026 and beyond, and we need to be visionary and diligent in thinking in that way.
Counselor, I agree that we are growing, and we are a city that is growing at an unprecedented rate. I think we're experiencing some growing pains in the process. Our roads, police, fire, and infrastructure are already strained. The projected housing needs analysis for the next 20 years is 8,000 to 11,000 units, and we are already well on our way to meet that goal. Unrestrained growth is the mindset of cancer. This annexation will strain our city infrastructure, our city resources, even more than we can already handle, and I think that we should be working to improve our city services and infrastructure before we bring more area into the city.
Councilor Van Dribbelen? Oh, Councilor Smith? Sorry.
Thank you. I've heard the words proposal and metro level development and unprecedented growth rate. I want to remind everybody that we're talking about annexing bare property, redrawing the city limits and changing a map. We are not talking about a proposed development. We are talking about making it possible for bare land to develop someday. It could be a very long time. It could be tomorrow. None of us knows that. We are not growing at an unprecedented rate. Our average growth rate for the last 25 years has been in the 2% range. Up until this year, for the last 5 or 6 years, we were the 3rd fastest growing city in the state of Oregon. We aren't any longer. We are the 4th fastest growing city. We've dropped down to about 1.4% per year, while the city of Woodburn has taken the 3rd spot at 4.7%. So a dubious honor, I'm sure. I think we need to focus on what is before us, which is the annexation of the property, the change from one fire district to another, both of which pay taxes for fire services, and let the development come to us when it's ready. I'm reminded of a friend who said years ago that She wished there was something that you could spray on a kitten so it wouldn't ever grow up. We're a cat. We're grown up. And we just need to accept that and deal with it and get ahead of it when we can. We're getting ahead of it here. We have an opportunity to weigh in on development proposals when they come to us. But I see no objection to annexing bare land and getting an increase in property taxes from that. It's gonna happen.
I think that the way we get ahead of things is by hiring more police, fire, improving our roads, improving our water system, improving all of the things that make a city before we make the city any bigger.
And how do we explain that to the people who are paying for it now and complaining about the cost of it now? Because those costs are high. How do we tell them, we're planning for 20,000 more people, so we need to do this now, put in these things that are not going to be used until those other 20,000 people are here?
They will be used. They will be used by the people who are already here.
Councilor Van Dribbelen, you had comments you wanted to share?
Yes, thank you. I mostly concur with Councilor Smith on this, that to the question at hand in front of us, which is the annexation, I feel like this makes perfect sense. This is land that is contiguous with the city boundary. It's not just within the urban growth boundary, it's right on the city line. And if we feel the need to rein in what the development looks like, that is a question for when the development plan comes before us. I don't think that, to me, it makes any sense to try and hold up what are right now concepts of a plan, if you will, by saying, no, we refuse to annex this property into the city. I hear the concerns, absolutely, about increased need for services, but again, those come with development, not with annexation, to Director Rutgers's and the city manager's point. This is bare land. The increase in services based on the actual question in front of us would be minimal at best. And particularly on the question of fire, it's the same agency responding, whether it's one taxing district or another. Also, to the point of people talk about small town Albany. Albany is a community of nearly 60,000 people in 2026. I am in data all day long, most of the time, and a community of nearly 60,000 people, particularly in Oregon, in our context, that is not a small city. We have lots of small towns in Oregon. Albany is not one of them, and we need to act like it. We need to act like the community that we are. And so I'm supportive of this annexation.
I believe we're the 10th largest city in Oregon. Councilor Thompson?
Yeah, back to the notion of population, in the PSU at the end of 2025 made a estimate. They later revised these, but their estimate for 2025 in Albany was a flat 0.03% growth. It was just a handful. But we talk about this notion of growth. Growth happens when we do things like approve an annexation. And the folks, I did not make in my head the idea of a 7-story. I'm not trying to say that's big. I know it's much bigger, but that was part of the developer in front of us had a whole series of what they plan to do. And I realize that economic realities will determine whether those come to fruition. But as sure as I'm sitting here, I guarantee you, if we annex them, if we approve this annexation, they then come before us with a development plan that they say that's legally okay and that's hard to change. That's how it works. When Walmart came to Albany, that was first promoted as Walmart plus a kind of a mini shopping area that never came to fruition. It was up to them. We can't tell them what to do. It could be more or less, but I'm taking them at their word of what they put out as a high-density, intensive development that's going to be stress on our transportation, and I hadn't even gotten to schools. It's gonna be stress on those too. And I realize it's years in the future, I get that, but you're asking me to approve or deny it now, and I have to kind of take all that into consideration. I'll also say there was a time, not that long ago, 10 years ago, this would be before the voters. The voters would be deciding this. And interests, the realtor interests went to the legislature and got that changed. And they got it changed because they can more likely influence and have better success amongst bodies like this. You imagine if they were trying to get this approved by the voters. I think they'd have a hard time. And that's what I'm saying. You know, we can pick apart people's feelings about whether Albany is a big town or a little town, but they're telling us. They're telling us how they feel, and that's where I get it. It's not coming from me. That's what I hear.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, just wanted to say that we can welcome growth and still insist on wisdom. You know, I'm thinking about the words of Tom McCall. We must use the land wisely or we'll lose it. I think that's loosely about what he said, right? So if this development is structured to be fiscally responsible for the city and aligned with our long-term plan, I believe it could strengthen Albany rather than stretch it. But I think that really just goes to see like what's going to happen ultimately with this development plan. All right. There's two ordinances, council, for our consideration in our council packet. Would the city attorney, deputy city attorney, please read the ordinance proclaiming annexation in title only?
An ordinance proclaiming annexation of properties identified on Lynn County Assessor's Map Number 11S03W09D, tax lots 600, 700, 701, 702, 800, 801, 901, 902, 1402, 1403, 2500, 2700, and 2800. Amending ordinance number 4836, which adopted the City of Albany Comprehensive Plan, and amending ordinance number 4441, which adopted the City of Albany zoning map by amending the Albany zoning map and adopting findings of facts and conclusions.
Thank you. Would council like to make a motion to read the ordinance a second time in title only?
Move to read the ordinance a second time in title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
All right, looks like it needs to come back to a later date. Date to be determined? Or would it be at our next council meeting?
I think as the deputy city attorney just said, it needs to be a date certain, but if you specify at the next meeting, then that will make
Date
that.
certain, we'll see. TBD. I'll let staff work out when it will be coming back.
No, we have to specify
Oh, okay.
the date.
All right, do we want to specify when it's coming back?
Council meeting.
Next council
Next
meeting?
council meeting.
All right,
Okay?
next Wednesdays when we vote. So yes, Wednesdays we wear pink and we vote.
And because this has failed to reach a second reading, I think the second ordinance with this agenda item doesn't need to be covered tonight. Because
Okay.
that's the ordinance withdrawing from the rural fire district.
Okay, all right, then we will go ahead and address those at our next meeting. Mayor, would you like to take the dais again? How'd I do? Okay. Why was I a little nervous? I don't know. Floodlights are on. Wednesdays we wear pink and Wednesdays is when we vote. I shouldn't have said that. That was a little too cheesy.
Next,
I want to talk to you later.
Give him a minute.
I would like to talk to you later. Later. Yeah, later.
Uh-oh.
March 11th.
March 11th. We'll be here, but probably in bigger numbers. Bring more chairs.
Thank you, folks.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
next on tonight's agenda is the public comment. Public comments are a time for Albany residents to speak and for councilors to listen. The council won't discuss topics or make decisions during public comment, but will take comments and requests under advisement. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and must follow the council's rules and observe the same standards of decorum. If unable to do so, they will be asked to step down for the remainder of the meeting, or sit in the audience for the remainder of the meeting. When you come to the microphone, please give your name and state whether or not you live in the city of Albany. Got two? Posted in comments, right?
Second one, I don't.
Mark Stewart?
Oh, I was waiting for them to, usually there's a little clock that shows up. Oh, there it is. Thank you, everyone. My name is Mark Stewart. I live here in Albany. Anytime I come here, I aim to inspire everyone. And I get frustrated with my own brain because I'll have what I want to say written down, ready to go, and then I hear things, and I get totally thrown off. I will say, I don't envy this council. You have all chosen the least boring time in modern history to be in government. And I hope that all of you who are up for re-election run, and I hope that you all win, because I don't think I'm gonna have time to bring new faces up to speed by the time these midterms roll around. And for the record, it's not fair what lies ahead of you guys and what you're gonna have to deal with. Even today, we are all operating under this notion that everything procedural, everything legal, everything normal, business as normal, is continuing like normal, and it's not. Man, I wish there was a mechanism where I could have raised my hand earlier after public comment was closed, because I didn't realize that I had something to say until I did. The cost of developing that new annex land can literally change overnight based on whether or not someone tweets something mean at the president. We are not in normal times anymore. And I am wholly empathetic. I have no idea how any of you could possibly, reasonably, effectively make any decision under this umbrella of chaos that we all find ourselves in. That said, I will very quickly try to get to what I wanted to say regarding the city strategic plan. I had two questions. Is there a plan in place for the midterms this year if the federal executive interferes with or even cancels the democratic process entirely? That's a real possibility. He's talking about it himself. The administration's talking about that. If that happens, it's going to be hectic. I mean, at a minimum. Second, is there a plan in place to deal with the homeless population that's going to grow under these unprecedented economic times regarding tariffs, regarding a president that has co-opted the entire federal budget? So.
Thank you. No one else signed up to speak.
Mayor, I believe Remy Hill is on the sign-in sheet.
Is he? Oh, he's under, no, public comment sign-up sheet, he's not on here.
It should
Oh,
be
drinking
in
water.
print.
It's so small, drinking water, please. Thank you, Remy. Like your nice report.
I'm sorry, what?
Nice report.
Okay. Good evening, councilors. I have a simple matter to bring to your attention tonight, which you might already have a solution for, which I'm not aware, or you might not. However, if not, it's worth considering given the business that's about to be brought up at the council meeting tonight. It relates to wastewater treatment, specifically the treatment of wastewater with bleach, also known as sodium hypochlorite, which we're going to talk about in a contract negotiation later. Disinfection byproducts such as trihalomethanes and haloacetic acids are known contaminants of concern, often present in drinking water. They're produced through the interaction of chlorinated disinfectants such as bleach with organic carbon. Since they've been known about since the mid-1970s, and were among the first contaminants to be monitored via the Safe Drinking Water Act, they're hardly a new concern. Given that, it's no surprise that we test for their presence in Albany's drinking water, nor is it surprising that it passes those tests routinely. They're not tested for in wastewater, however, which is regulated differently than drinking water. Given that the proposed plan to treat wastewater from Albany and Millersburg involves the use of chlorination via bleach, and given that wastewater tends to have higher levels of organic carbon than that present in drinking water, if this is not something that is going to be monitored, then I feel compelled to stress that it should be. We already test for these contaminants in our drinking water, so taking samples of post-treatment wastewater and testing them in Albany's own testing facilities should be trivially easy to do. Not doing so, however, could result in causing unnecessary damage to the important ecosystems of the Willamette, as well as easily preventable harm to the people who swim in or otherwise interact with waters of the Willamette. It turns out that our wastewater passes these tests, if it turns out that our wastewater passes these tests, then we could easily stop. But we should take this a precautionary stance towards this, as this will simultaneously benefit the environment, the citizens of Albany, and close one avenue of legal liability down the road, especially as it relates to talking water gardens. Thank you for your time, councilors. I hope you have a nice night.
Thank you. Okay. Next on tonight's agenda is an action item for consideration about adopting an amendment to AMC 15-08.030 Economic Improvement District Assessment Duration. Does the staff have a report?
Good evening. So tonight we're bringing this ordinance forward because we discovered during the last Economic Improvement District that we were trying to stand up that municipal code limits it to 3 years. This ordinance is just to align with ORS. It would allow us to do any term up to the 5 years that ORS currently allows. And then in the future, if ORS changes, then our code would automatically fall in line with it. This doesn't mean that tonight we're creating that district. It just means that we're changing the potential term. It gives us a little more flexibility. We could do anything from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
That's the next question. Does the council have any questions for staff?
I can just comment. It takes a lot of time to set this up and to collect the money and to monitor all of that stuff. And it seems like 5 years would give a little bit of breathing room to everybody, let things settle out, get into a routine. Is that a fair assessment?
I think that it's interesting because we have consistently done 5 years in the past here at the city, and we were kind of used to that. And then during the last district, it was on the night that it was coming to the last public hearing that I happened to notice that it was in code that it was 3 years. So yes, it definitely is a lot of work. And having it every 5 years is definitely easier, I think, on both the ADA and also on us.
And the people who pay it.
And the people who pay it, they don't have to worry about it so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, any other questions? Thank you. Does the city, well, I already asked that question. There's ordinance on the consideration on page 150 of the council packet. Will the city attorney please read the ordinance in title only?
Yes. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Section 15.08.030, to modify the duration of economic improvement district assessments.
Is there a motion to read the ordinance the second time in title only?
I move to read the ordinance a second time in title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
You have a second? All those in favor say aye. Oh, excuse me. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you. Would the city attorney please read the ordinance the second time on title only?
Yes. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Section 15.08.030, to modify the duration of economic improvement districts assessments.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there, excuse me, I'm lost. Yep, will the council like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Christopher Van Dremelen is raising his hand.
I move to adopt the ordinance as written.
Oh, I thought you had a comment.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Passes.
I thought
Next.
you had a question. That's why, sorry I interrupted, but now Christopher Van Dremelen's giving me a quizzical look, but you raised your hand. I thought you had a question, which is why I flagged it. I apologize.
I was simply seeking the floor so that I could make a motion.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh,
I
I'm
wasn't looking, I
mortified.
was reading this, so, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, next on tonight's agenda is an action item for consideration of adopting proposed amendments to the Albany Municipal Code, AMC 2.27.
I think we have a,
Oh, there's another ordinance?
no, there's a resolution.
Oh. Where's the resolution? I don't have 153. Just a second.
The regular council guide should have the
Oh,
relevant
okay, right
question.
there. The one at the bottom?
Approximately in the middle.
We have an ordinance and resolution.
The resolution that we're working
Well, the resolution portion of it. There's a resolution on page 153 of the packet for council consideration. Council?
on. Move to adopt the resolution setting public hearings for the purpose of considering a downtown voluntary economic improvement district.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Now, next on the council.
All right. Cooking with gas.
Next on the tonight's agenda is an action item for consideration of adopting a proposed amendment to Albany Municipal Code 2.27, Community Development Commission. Does the staff have a report?
Thank you, Counselor. I'm Ann Catlin with the Community Development Department, and you're going to hear from Caitlin Martin with the Community Development Department.
So just a really brief recap. In December, staff proposed amendments to AMC 2.27, which governs the Community Development Commission. And during that discussion, council requested additional information regarding appointment structures and term limits. Staff returned in January for options for the council's consideration. Tonight, we present a revised ordinance. And while support for these options was not unanimous, the ordinance before you reflects the options that received the majority council support. If adopted, the ordinance would reduce the commission size from 10 members to 7, with each council member having 1 appointment, transition to an all at-large membership structure, and establish a term limit of 3 consecutive 3-year terms, and would also add conflict of interest provisions. These changes are intended to improve operational efficiency and provide greater clarity. So staff originally proposed an effective date of January 1st. This was to maintain the current commission during the 2026 program year application review process, which is currently underway. Given the complexity of the CDBG program, continuity during funding evaluations is critical. However, since that proposal, 3 commission members have resigned, reducing the membership to 7. And under the current structure, 6 members are required to establish a quorum. And to avoid disruption in conducting commission business, staff now recommends that the ordinance take effect 30 days after adoption, which is consistent with standard practice. Suggested motions have been provided on the dais. And thank you for your time, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Does the council have questions of staff?
Not a question, just thank you. I think you captured what our discussion was perfectly. Thank you.
The other councilors? Thank you. I do have one. Are you going to stagger so we don't have everybody going at the same time?
Yeah, that automatically happens with the clerks and the appointments, yes.
That's to make sure that, all 6 of them, or not 7, need to replace at the same time. All right, thank you. Does the city council wish to discuss the ordinance? Thank you, Councilor Thompson, for making your point. There's an ordinance for consideration on page 157 through 159 of the council packet. Will the city attorney read the ordinance in title only?
Yes. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Chapter 2.27, Community Development Commission.
Is there a motion to read the ordinance second time in title only?
I'll move that we read the ordinance the second time in title only.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. Thank you. Will the city attorney read the ordinance the second time in title only?
Yes. An ordinance amending Albany Municipal Code, Chapter 2.27, Community Development Commission.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
I move to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you, councilors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion's adopted, or ordinance is adopted. Thank you. Resolutions, award of contract WWTP 26-02, AM-WFR disinfection studies, Stacy Belcastro, pages 160 to 162 in your packet. Good evening, Stacy.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors. Staff is requesting that council by motion pass the resolution that's included as attachment 1, page 162 in your council packet. Approving the resolution will allow us to award a contract to the consultant Kennedy Jenks in the amount of $200,763. This contract is for pre-design that's needed to evaluate the disinfection system at the city's wastewater treatment plant, the Albany Millersburg Water Reclamation Facility. The disinfection system that is currently used at the plant is not going to meet the new regulatory requirements that are outlined in the city's new discharge permit. This is the NPDES permit, which stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. So sodium hypochlorite or liquid chlorine is what's currently used to disinfect discharge at the plant currently. As part of the pre-design effort, the consultant will be evaluating it along with other alternatives, including non-chlorine alternatives such as ozone, ultraviolet. There's other alternatives. Some benefits to non-chlorine alternatives is you don't have the chlorine byproducts. And so during the pre-design, we will be looking at these alternatives and using criteria such as operations and maintenance concerns as well as cost, with the goal of landing at a selected alternative which will meet the new permit requirements. We did use a formal request for proposal process to select the consultant for this work, even though the contract amount didn't require it. The reason we did this is it gives us the benefit to be flexible. So when we select the preferred alternative, we will be able to continue working with Kennedy Jenks. They'll develop a scope and fee in order to design the preferred alternative. Staff will be coming back in front of council to present that amendment, and then be requesting council approve the amendment. Otherwise, we would have a preferred alternative, and then we would have to pause and go back out for another request for proposal. And that's about it. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions? Do I have a motion?
I would move to approve the request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you, council. Next is business from the council. Councilor Thompson.
No, I don't have anything tonight, thank you.
Councilor Newton.
Yeah, I have something I wanted to talk to you guys about, colleagues. So when this council, this is back in 2024, when we first approved flock cameras. I know some of you guys weren't on council, but at the time I was the only no vote. And back in 2024, I raised concerns specifically about data sharing, about what happens once this surveillance infrastructure is in place, and whether Albany will be able to truly control how our data is accessed, outside of our city. Recent reporting shows that federal immigration enforcement agencies accessed Albany's license plate reader data hundreds of times. Nearly 200 direct border patrol searches in June, 335 side door searches that same month, and another 188 in December, totaling about 720 immigration-related searches across just 2 months. That directly contradicts prior public assurances that immigration enforcement agencies were not searching Albany's data. We were told that the city retained complete ownership and control of its data, and that immigration-related searches were prohibited. We were told that data sharing was limited to Oregon agencies. Yet, the audit analysis presented to lawmakers at the Capitol suggests something very different has occurred. Oregon has been a sanctuary state since 1987, prohibiting local governments from aiding federal immigration enforcement without a judicial warrant. Whether through direct access or side door searches by out-of-state agency, the result is the same. Albany residents' data was reportedly used in immigration-related searches. That is exactly why I voted no back in 2024. This is why I asked about data sharing concerns back then. And that is why I am incredibly, deeply disappointed. Even if some of these numbers are later disputed, the fact that there is confusion about whether our data was accessed at this scale demonstrates a failure of transparency and a failure of control. Public trust requires more than technical assurances. It requires certainty. For those reasons, I would like to make the following motion and move that the Albany City Council, I'd like to that the Albany City Council direct the city manager and Albany Police Department to immediately suspend operation of all flock safety automated license plate reader cameras currently in use within the city of Albany, direct staff to take all necessary steps to terminate the city's contract with flock safety at the earliest lawful opportunity, halt installation of any additional flock cameras pending further council direction, and return to council within 30 days with a public report detailing all agencies that have accessed Albany's flock data, the number and purpose of searches conducted, all data sharing configurations and agreements, contract termination terms and financial implications, confirmation of data retention and deletion protocols.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Well, first I'd like to say something.
Absolutely.
Before we did that. It was one center that brought that information back. I'd like a second, because there's just allegations right now. I'd like a second. I would like a second source to verify or not verify whether or not it happened. Reacting to something that came from one organization is irresponsible, because it's going to cost the city a lot of money to rectify this.
Then I'm happy to amend my motion to have that we immediately suspend instead of cancel.
Fine with that.
Okay, so
We
I'll,
need- we
I'll
need-
edit
we
my
need- we
motion
need
if you'd
another-
like.
And I think as a city is responsible, supposed to be, we need another source to verify that it actually happened.
All right, then I would move that the Albany City Council immediately suspend use of all flock safety cameras and impose a moratorium on further deployment until council adopts a formal surveillance technology policy.
I will agree.
Yeah, we're in discussion on a motion that's been made and properly seconded.
Okay, so we'll start with the first one, and if that fails, we'll go to the second.
Well,
There we go.
So we can amend a motion that's been properly made and seconded and is on the floor for our consideration. So, but once the motion has been made and seconded, it belongs to the body, not the particular council member who made it. So
All right, body, have at it.
we can discuss it and we can vote to amend that motion under consideration, but to go back and have someone edit it is not proper parliamentary procedure.
Correct.
You can move to amend your own motion.
I'll allow some discussion right now.
Okay, Councilor Thompson?
Yeah, I was told by the city manager tonight we would hear from the police chief, and that's what I'm looking for right now.
May I?
Yes.
Okay, so the data provided by the Oregon Law Center are flawed at best and erroneous or false at worst. License plate readers provide a tool with which we can solve the kidnappings of 3-year-old children. We can find silver alert victims who have suffered from Alzheimer's or other dementia. It is an emerging technology, certainly. It's a new one. Police Chief Harnden is here, and I'd ask her to come forward. I did tell Councilor Thompson and also Councilor McLeod on Monday that we would have more information. I would urge the council not to take a knee-jerk reaction to something that is as serious as this and provides such a good tool for us.
Clerk has, or city recorder has one for the record. All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Interesting development for sure. First of all, let me start by saying that I echo the concerns that our community would have on this data, and do assert that we are doing everything we can as a city to make sure that we're in compliance with the sanctuary's laws of the state of Oregon. For those who didn't know, I sit on the Sanctuary Promise Commission to talk about the sanctuary hotline. So I'm very familiar with what the laws are. I'll be very clear about that. Again, a little bit alarmed by this. I got the letter last Friday. We went and took a look at the data that we supplied to the Oregon Law Center. And as I noted in my response to the Democrat Herald, I cannot reproduce what they're seeing. So we're talking about 4 to 5 million pieces of data that have come in since we signed the contract in 2024. One of the things that was pointed out to me today is that if you look at our network audit data from January and February of 2025, you'll see that the Albany Police Department shows up there on that audit list. We didn't have cameras installed until the spring of 2025. So we're going to show up as a consumer of that data. So assume you have a license plate that you're looking for in the database, 123 ABC, and you enter it into that database and do that search, you're going to ping everybody that is on that network, whether they supplied the data or not. So when I looked at the data from the Oregon Law Center, are there entries there? Certainly.
But did that data come from us specifically? We don't know that because the exact data that was searched for is not in that audit log. What raised alarms for me was the fact that we were at the exact same numbers as Eugene and Medford, or in the county down there, which when we talked to the legal counsel for Flock, that is the pool of Oregon agencies. That's not necessarily Albany. So I need to make that very clear. That's what raised some alarms with me. So going through the presentation a little bit, I need to tell a little bit of a story here about the history of LPR in Albany. There's actually two pieces of equipment. If the council members that were on the council in 2023, 2024 remember that you approved us accepting a radar trailer that measured speed and recorded license plates, that is an LPR device. That LPR stores the information locally, which we did for some of our problematic locations for speed in the city. It also has the option to share that data. And that particular device shared to a federal database controlled by the federal government that is housed in Idaho. That data is not being shared with that database. It's only being kept locally because we don't have any control over what happens to that data. That was a decision that we made, and that tool, we just use it as needed in neighborhoods when we can. Then came the grant from the CJC for organized retail theft, which is what paid for these particular cameras. There's only one operational in the city currently. At the time that the council approved that grant, we were not a Flock customer. The contract was signed after that grant was accepted. However, any LPR company is going to have this same issue. They're going to have to answer to the constituents and the departments in in Oregon as to where that data goes. And so one of the things that was at foremost from my perspective as the chief of Albany and a resident in Oregon was what was happening to that data. So obviously we saw a change in national initiative around immigration with the change of the presidential administration. Our cameras came online in the spring of 2025. We wanted some assurances that we were going to be in compliance with the sanctuary promise laws. We turned off, you'll see on some of these settings that you'll see that immigration filtering is enabled, federal share is off. Now, Flock has made some progress on doing this better. So when the Oregon Law Center did see data, saw federal partners show up in there, that's because they had access at the time. After June of 2025, they did not. Fast forward to the national lookup. One of the things that we were alerted to, the other customers within the state of Oregon that were Flock customers, is that the national lookup was a reciprocal agreement. If we wanted to go and look at data from other states, they got to look at ours. But we're all in one big pool. That's where the problem started to creep up on us about that side door issue. And it came up in the fall of 2025, and the Oregon agencies met and said, hey, we are vulnerable here to the violation of the law. What can we do to get out of the national lookup, which would only restrict the Oregon agencies and their data. It took a while to do that. We were trying to put in some filters. Finally, what Flock did is just put us in our own state group. So we could push out everybody else and only be in the state of Oregon. So on page 2 of this packet I just handed out to you, is you'll see that once we went into the Oregon-only group and got out of the national lookup group, these are the only agencies that have accessed our data since the complete shutoff, which is in December of 25. Before that, we were filtering, it wasn't working. So January and February, and I confirmed it this afternoon, there is no access to our data outside of Oregon in 2026, all the way through to today. So again, we have 20 or so agencies getting, or departments getting access. On the bottom, I put 14 as the PDs and some sheriff's offices. Our average monthly searches to that total database is around 2,500. Before that was 350,000 a month. Huge difference. That's a loss of us being able to go look for a certain vehicle nationwide. But the safety is that it is limited to Oregon only. And you see at the very bottom, since that filter or that change has occurred, the federal or out-of-state searches are 0. And that's a key thing for me to make sure that we're safe. The other thing that occurred here is that you have to put in a mandatory reason. There's a drop-down that is required for you to be able to search the database. And so I went and pulled the top 15. There's a whole list of these. These are the top 15. As you can see, they're fairly serious offenses, most of them. And so that's going to ping against that database. I wanted all of you to see that this is not just a random fishing expedition. We're actually looking for specific criteria. Also, on the, I think it's the 4th page, is the screenshot of our transparency portal. One of the things that we saw is, it shows who has access to our data. It shows our limitations to immigration and federal authorities. Also, you have the potential, it's cut off at the bottom, to download a spreadsheet of all the searches done against the data. We discovered in the last couple days that one of those columns was missing, which was the reason code, the reason for search. As of today, that is back. Flock went put that back in for us at our request. On the last page, and I know this is a little bit blurry, I'm happy to share the slide deck with all of you, is it shows the various levels of control that we have over our data. So we don't auto-approve, so if somebody wants to come on and say, hey, I want access to this, it's not auto-approved. You can see that out-of-state sharing is turned off, that immigration filtering is turned on, federal sharing is disabled, and only we're sharing information within the state of Oregon. A couple other points I want to bring to your attention after conferring with the vendor is that, yes, they did a pilot program. A lot of vendors do with various police departments. They did have a pilot program with the federal government that was terminated last summer, and there's no current agreement in place with immigration authorities. We've also increased very clear-cut filtering options on this particular platform, as well as there's warnings about participation in the National Lookup data pool, which again we have pulled out of. We're only in Oregon. Lastly, on the Oregon Law Center recommendations, I would look at the page 3 and 4. They make some recommendations. A lot of that is working its way through the current legislative cycle. The Chiefs Association, the Sheriff's Association, member of the ACLU, and other interested parties have been working to negotiate these particular criteria that they want codified in law. And all of these things we currently do as the Albany Police Department, and I support. That will keep us on the right side of the sanctuary promise laws, and that's the big concern here. It's a very valuable tool. For those who don't recall, we have a 2-year-old homicide victim where we were able to locate the suspect in Medford based on an LPR hit. Also, we had a suspect located in California well before we were a client of LPR technology that was trying to get to Mexico that murdered a local businessman in Albany. And so the silver alert, the dementia type criteria also is a huge benefit. We had an amber alert that came out from the Portland metro area, and these cameras are exponentially faster in getting good resolution out of there. And lastly, and I'm happy to take any questions, is that the agencies, the police departments in the state of Oregon are working hard to make sure that, one, we have good, valuable technology available to law enforcement in the state of Oregon while staying on the right side of our existing laws. The problem with the national lookup is not all states have our laws, And so we can't guard against that. So that's why you're seeing the departments pull out of those particular, that lookup. So we're staying local. The downsides, we don't have access to their data either. Also, one of the downsides, not particularly affect Albany, but affects the Portland metro area, is you have Vancouver. So if we're limited to Oregon, you don't have any of the data available if Vancouver or Clark County are accessible. So things to think about there, but I'd rather have limited access to a very valuable tool than no access at all. I think that is not a good trend to have. Technology is here, whether we like it or not. And again, I apologize if I haven't said this before. And I have all of the data sheets to share with anybody who wants to take a look at it. And member of the public can take a look at it. December 24, January 25, February 25, you're going to see Albany Police Department show up because we had a contract with Flock. We had no cameras and no information to supply to that database. So I think that the data presented by the Oregon Law Center, while I agree with their recommendations, is not painting an accurate picture of how our data is being used. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that, Chief. I appreciate getting information from the source. And I have nothing else to say.
So, so what if one of the other jurisdictions does the national lookup? It would prevent, they still won't be able to get access to our stuff.
They would have, no, the national lookup would not have access to our stuff. Other agencies in Oregon would have access because we're in an Oregon pool.
But what I'm saying is that can that be shared with the federal government?
No. Where it's filtered out.
Right.
Are we relying solely on Flock's internal reporting to verify access? Or do we have like independent ability to verify back-end access?
That's what I'd like to know.
So we run a query off of the system itself. So we'll go out and ping so there's two reports that come up. There's the network audit, and then there's a Albany access audit report. They're two different reports. So it'll show what we are doing, and then shows what the actual national network and access here. If I run that report today, which I did for last 2 months, it just shows the state of Oregon.
Who's controlling our server infrastructure? Is it APD or is it Flock?
I'm going to have Sean Park come out and talk about a little bit of how that structure works, but the data is in the cloud. And I think he can probably speak to how he's got the nerdy answer to that one.
I love nerdy answers.
Good evening. The flocking infrastructure resides on Amazon Web Services cloud services.
AWS, yeah.
AWS, and it runs on the GovCloud, which is a more secure cloud environment similar to our government cloud and M365 environment. So to a large degree, you're taking them at their word in the contract on how secure that is and the precautions they take to keep it safe. We do know that Flock has told us in their documentation that they use industry standard protocols for securing the data in transit and at rest. And those are the same protocols that banks and hospitals use. So there is a degree of faith there that you have to take from that vendor. And I'm not aware of any third-party type of access to their systems that would allow you to audit that. Would love to have that.
Has Flock provided a written technical explanation addressing the legislature's findings from the Oregon Law Center?
I don't believe that they've put out a response to that. The testimony was just last week.
Okay. I'm curious if council directed a temporary suspension pending independent verification, would that create an operational risk?
Depends on how long that goes. I mean, we're just without the tool.
Okay.
I have a question. You said that they did a pilot program. Did they not disclose that with you all when we went into contract with them? Were you guys unaware of the pilot program? Because I think that, I think that would have benefited us to know going in that that was a possibility.
At the time that we signed the contract, I was unaware that they had a pilot. The pilot they engaged in, I believe, occurred after we were already a customer. So I was not aware that we were notified, or I don't think it's in the contract. I have to review the contract. But they knew from the very beginning that we had some issues around federal sharing of information based on, even in 2024, different initiatives around immigration. The laws were still in the books. So that law was still in place regardless of how it was being enforced. Does that answer your question?
I just feel like it's a disingenuous of them not to tell you that that was a possibility, that could have been shared. I just feel like it was
Trail of trust.
blindsided and a sandbag. I mean, yes, if they claim that they do pilots all the time and there was a possibility of sharing, that should have been disclosed. And the fact that it wasn't, or if it's in the contract and we overlooked it, it just feels a little negligent and disingenuous from them. That's what my point was.
I don't believe it was in the contract at the time. I will tell you that the other big vendors out there that we are not customers of have contracts with federal government.
I guess I'm feeling like that means like there's one of two things. And like, thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate the work you put in for this report and to configure the system to apply with Oregon law. I appreciate a ton of the work that all the work that you're doing. Thanks for confirming nationwide lookup, currently disabled, check. Federal and out-of-state searches show 0 since that change. Prohibited uses include immigration enforcement, and access is limited just to our Oregon agencies. I'm still just stuck on that the legislature showed 720 immigration-related searches tied to Albany's network. And I know you can't replicate those results. So to me, that means that like one of two things is true. That means either the legislature was given inaccurate or misinterpreted audit data, or there are aspects to the vendor's system architecture that is not fully visible at the local settings level. And honestly, neither of those scenarios is comforting to me at all. And I want to be very clear, this is not about distrust of Albany Police Department. Not at all. It's just about caution, like what Councilor McGee said, with how something happened, weren't aware of it. It's just about caution when there's a private company that controls the back end of a surveillance platform. And when there's conflicting data that I'm hearing at a state level, I feel like the responsible course of action is just not to push forward as if this is normal. Personally, I think it would be responsible for us to take a pause just out of abundance of caution, just until maybe we have an independent verification that Albany's data hasn't been accessed in ways inconsistent with our sanctuary law. I feel like, I'd be happy to amend my motion, officially, to, and I'll go ahead and be official with this, amend my previous motion and move that the Albany City Council immediately suspend operation of all flock safety automated license plate reader cameras pending further council action, halt the installation of additional cameras, and then direct staff to obtain independent third-party verification of whether Albany's license plate reader data was accessed for immigration-related searches, whether any federal or out-of-state entities accessed Albany's data prior to the disabling of nationwide lookup, and the full technical architecture governing the data sharing. And I think that, I'm not sure what this timeline is going to look like. I think we should maintain the suspension until council votes affirmatively to resume operations following a public review of that independent verification. So this could be like, 30 days or maybe 60 days, but I want to be able to give us, I don't want to put a number on it. I want us to be able to actually have a public review of that independent verification. So that's how I would choose to amend my motion.
And my second is in agreement with the amendment.
Can I make another, give you some more information?
I love it, yeah.
So the June 2025 audit report. We did our own analysis in-house, and we do have the capacity to do that. And we have the lovely Microsoft Copilot that helps us with that, and did a keyword search. and looked at the results of that. And you could go, like the report calls out HSI. We have a narcotics task force called the Line Narcotics Task Force. There's 2 agents from HSI that are on that task force that do solely narcotics work. We have a current very serious sex abuse involving a child where HSI is assisting us. So I think we have to be really clear too that just because they're mentioned doesn't mean it's immigration. If there's an immigration or border patrol specific one, yeah, that would raise some red flags with me. But just because it's HSI, or just because it's DHS, or just because it's FBI, or U.S. Marshals, because U.S. Marshals will pick up any of our felony suspects that are out of our jurisdiction, doesn't necessarily mean it's immigration. You can read into the data and say, oh, look at this, the federal government's looking at the LPR data. That could be true, that could not be true. But just because the federal government's mentioned, I think we have to be real careful there, because we have legitimate, active operational relationships with these federal partners that we need to have.
Thank you for that additional information.
So I would like, go ahead, Councilor German.
So to clarify, what's under consideration now is the amendment to the motion, because Councilor McLeod, I assume that you would like to second that motion to amend.
I did.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So I figured as well. So I would like this. I'd like one of y'all to make a motion to have the Oregon Poverty Law Center prove it.
We
And we're gonna.
Oh,
we're
your
having discussion.
microphone.
We're having discussion.
turn on your microphone. Sorry, I want everyone to hear your voice.
So I got the motion in second, thank you. The part of the discussion is if we're gonna do this, I would like the Oregon Poverty Laws or Public Law Center to come and prove this, where they got their data from. So if some of y'all can make a motion, or can I make a motion to do that?
So we need to resolve the amendment that's on the
Correct, I
table
agree.
right now,
I
and
agree.
then we could make another amendment to the motion to add that,
Would it
absolutely.
be a separate?
No, it could be an amendment to the motion to add it to the motion under consideration, but we have to resolve the amendment first.
So we have a motion for Councilor Newton's,
And then you can say, I'd like to amend the active motion on the floor to include that we'd like to have the Oregon Law Center come and present their data as part of the stipulation for
council action.
council action.
And my second is in agreement.
Okay, so.
There we go.
Thank you.
Amended the amendment. There we go.
So we have a.
No, we need to resolve the
Okay.
amendment that is
Right.
on the floor right now, before we move to other amendments.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
To the chief, I just want to understand that if this goes through, this would impede and could hinder what you do as your job in an effort to work with other organizations if this was to go through. Am I understanding that correctly?
It would impede our operational ability, yes.
That's
if-
what I'm
if
trying to
there-
understand.
Yes. It's not going to change our existing federal relationships. We already have walls in place to prevent that overlap with immigration. They understand that and they respect that. That won't change. But our ability to use these cameras for investigations will be impeded.
So it will hinder your, a way to effectively do your job,
Yes.
And rely on other traditional policing methods.
which are,
Go ahead.
say that again, Councilor Newton?
How did you handle issues like this in the past?
We didn't have the option. So, for instance, the suspect in Medford, we had no ability to locate that person without this technology, other than him getting pulled over by a car incidentally. We had no idea where he was. The LPR told us he was in the Medford area. And the United States Marshal Service assisted Medford in getting him into custody so we could bring him back up here to Lynn County.
Okay. This would just be for a brief period of time until we get data clarified.
What's a brief period, though? We need, a brief period could be 30 days.
I don't want to put a stipulated timeline on it because I want to be able to have, get the Oregon Law Center, if we're going to have them come and tell us how they got that data.
Sure.
But it could be 30 days.
I just,
I can't support the motion for the reasons stated by the chief. It would hinder their ability to do their job. I can support the mayor's motion to have the Oregon Law Center come and tell us their side of the story.
Council? So is discussion over?
So as a point of order, what we need to do is vote on the amendment to Counselor Newton's original motion
I
and
don't
decide
think we
whether.
do.
Yes, we do.
Procedurally, I don't think we do.
Procedurally, we absolutely do.
I would like to hear from either the city recorder or the city attorney on that clarification.
We do need a vote on the amendment right now, and then we can go back and resolve the earlier question.
So we have a motion and a second. Which one, where are we at?
We're,
Let me get a-
we're at the earlier amendment that was made previous to discussion that took place to amend it again. So I can read my short text if you want.
Yes, please.
So the motion that I have was made by Newton. It says amend the previous motion of a council suspension of the operation of cameras pending further council action, halt additional cameras and direct staff to get third-party verification of immigration data access for federal or out-of-state access, and a full technical architecture governing the data sharing until council resumes operations following public review.
Okay, that's the last one you seconded.
Accurate.
So we're going to vote on this one now. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so now that's the main motion under consideration.
So can we do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Thompson?
Aye.
Councilor Van Drimmelen?
Aye.
Councilor McLeod?
Aye.
Councilor Smith?
No?
Councilor McGee?
No.
Councilor Newton?
Yes.
Believe motion passes.
So that motion passes. Okay. Now, the next step would be my motion? No?
No, because was the roll call intended to be the vote on the motion as amended then?
Yes.
Okay, that was not clear. My vote remains unchanged, but.
That's why I did it, because I want to know who, 'cause I didn't hear any voices over here, so.
Excuse me, counsel, if I could ask one question. Would a vendor certification of the results indicating that there has been no unintended disclosure of Albany data suffice for the purposes of
Which vendor?
resolving the ambiguity of what happened in regard to the conflicts between the data that you're saying? Would a certified vendor report suffice for providing the
Are you
proof?
asking, do we trust Flock to tell us, no, we're good?
I understand where you're going with that, but we're dealing with a black box vendor, and so I don't think I can get my head around the realistic idea that a third party is going to come in and allowed to audit that thing. So would a certified report from that
I think
vendor
maybe
saying?
first steps with that would be having actually what the mayor recommended, having the Oregon Law Center come and tell us how they got their data, and that might be able to assuage any questions we might have.
Agreed.
And then maybe next steps would then be having a third party or a Flock or someone just to see how things can move forward.
Okay.
Council, comfortable with that? Okay, so now I make my motion. I'd like to amend the previous decision or motion to have the Oregon Poverty Law Center.
No, we
Yeah.
voted.
You don't need
I was
to
gonna
amend
make a
the
motion.
previous decision.
Just
You can make a
motion.
main motion now.
So I'd like to make a motion to have the Oregon Public Law Center come and show us where they sourced that data and how they reported that data to us, because I found issues with it myself. And so I would like a council to support this.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Thank you.
Mayor, I think we need a counselor to make that motion, I believe.
Oh, well, council,
Do we have to?
do it,
Okay,
I believe we do.
all right,
Because you can't vote.
because I can't vote, that's right.
I'll make a motion that we have the Oregon Law Center,
Public Law Center.
Who?
Public Law Center.
Oregon,
It's the Oregon Law Center.
It is Oregon Center, okay.
okay, I was right.
Okay, I was wrong.
It's getting late. Oregon Law Center come to present to us regarding where they got their data from, how it was obtained, and what it was used for.
Second.
Thank you, Council. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. And I have no other existing council business.
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's only 40 minutes, that's okay. Okay, Councilor McLeod.
Oh, thank you. Wow, how do I follow that?
I'm sorry.
Wow, okay.
No sorry necessary.
Those 30-minute commutes, man, they get my brain going.
Well, I will attempt to follow that. To what Mr. Stewart spoke about earlier, I just want to reassure you that in Oregon, our midterm elections are managed entirely by the Secretary of State's office and the county clerks, not by the president. By law, the Oregon Secretary of State is our chief of elections officer and ensures that every vote is conducted fairly and on schedule. I also wanted to say thank you to Albany Partnership for Housing for 35 years of service as a dedicated local nonprofit housing provider and for consistently offering some of the lowest rents in our community. I'm proud that the City of Albany has been a longstanding supporter of this important work. Residents often ask what the city is doing to address housing costs, and Albany Partnership for Housing is a strong example of how we invest in extremely low-income housing to support those who need it most. Lastly, I would like to thank the city for the award that I received Monday evening, the City of Albany Public Engagement Greatest of All Time. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the community members who shared my link to the Community Engagement Survey. I was assisted by Katie Please, Remy Hill, and Casper Oliver. Thank you for your support and for reaching out to your networks with the link. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilor Van Dremelin.
No additional business tonight.
Councilor McGee.
I have two things, maybe three. I'm gonna make it quick though. Last week, Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend the familiarization tour with the Albany Visitors Association. And we got an opportunity to go around to several different businesses in Albany. Knife River Training Center, which is absolutely beautiful and awesome, and it was my first time there, and I highly recommend going there for a tour if you have not been. We went to the Thompson's Mill. It was nice, cold, but nice, kind of stepping back in history, which I'm a history buff, so that was awesome. Then we were escorted via bus to the Sybaris Bistro for lunch, which was really good. Shepherd's pie and like some really tasty chocolate with some like sorbet on top. I didn't get the name. After that, we went to the Albany Historic Carousel, of course, did the tour, went down to the basement, rode the carousel. After that, we went to the Natty Dresser, got an opportunity to hear some history there. Then we went to my favorite place in Albany, the Picks. And the next place we went to, it was a long day. We were there from like 8:30 to 4. So after the Picks, we went to the Albany Regional Museum and then the Albany Civic Theater we ended. And I am really, really grateful for our Albany's Visitor Association and the work that they do because they bring people here in an effort to showcase and show off what Albany has to offer. And not only did we do the tour, we got really beautiful gift bags, and things that were in our gift bags were like free carousel rides for children, growing seeds, all types of great brochures, everything that Albany has to offer and more. So I'm really, really grateful for our AVA and all the work that they do and continuously do. And it is does not go unnoticed. So thank you so much to our Albany Visitor Association, as well as their shepherd, Rebecca Bond, for doing that work because it is hard and coordinating all that, and we had a great time. The second thing is I had an opportunity to participate in the National Organization for Women Portland chapter. Me and another resident here went up to Portland. We're on a panel, discussed sort of the history of Black women and the women in the movement, considering this is Black History Month. And it was a really amazing talk, and we were at the historic Cinema 21 Theater in Portland. And lastly, I will get my car back on Friday after that accident that cost $10,616.54. Be safe, everybody. Good night.
Wow. I'm glad you're getting your car back, though. Counselor Smith?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, I only have a couple things. Last Tuesday, on the 17th, I was at Memorial Middle School for 5 hours. Our kids are awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed every question. I showed them the city's website. I showed them how to look at our strategic plan. I took my strategic plan notebook with me, and the kids had more questions, and sixth graders had more questions than most adults have. So I really appreciated them. I was there 5 hours. And I went to the cafeteria to sit and just talk to kids, and kids weren't eating. They were standing talking to me. I'm like, no. So I went in the principal's office, and they finished furniture food. And then that's enough.
Wait, did you just say you got sent to the principal's office, though? Sorry, I know.
No,
Just
no,
kidding.
no,
Just kidding.
no, I
just
went to the
kidding.
principal's
I know.
office.
I'm just had to make a little joke.
And the kids are amazing. Very expressive. You know, like the parks, they want to know what's going on with the waterfront. I was totally taken aback by them. And I did talk to some developers so my job, the next thing is to take them to talk to Sophie, and I've already turned them over to Sophie. So, and that's how it works here. Somebody comes to me, we sit and talk, they share their vision, I take them on a tour of the city, and then I turn them over to Sophie Adams, our Economic Development Manager. So that's how it works. And so anyway, I'm done. City Manager, your time.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have for you is to let you know that with the workload being what it is for March, we're able to cancel the 23rd work session and the 25th regular session. And for those of you with children, that'll give you spring break free. That's all I have. Thank you.
Wasn't going to be here anyway.
Now you don't have to worry about it now. Okay, so with that, our next meeting will be March 11th, or March 9th and March 11th. And for me, it's a great year because great month. My late mother's birthday is March the 4th, and my uncle that just passed away is March the 4th. I met my wife on March the 15th. My sister's birthday is March the 15th. And so March is a birthday celebration type month. So thank you all, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right. See y'all.